that Samir wanted me to watch, and I finally watched it today.
It was produced by Lance Bass.
Yeah, worth watching if you. It's a different type of true crime thing, and also certainly if you were a fan of the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, and want to know more about
or Take 5
their lives. Nah, more Backstreet Boys.
Yeah. or O-Town. What was the name?
Weren't those all
those?
Yeah, I do not remember Take 5 at all.
I can't remember. There was so many of these. He kept trying to do it. He kept trying to recreate it, and like you can't really do that. It's it's not actually a science,
Yeah. But hello, guys.
Hello,
Crystal. Glad you could join us today. We did talk about your movie pick yesterday, but we're glad that you're here. It's still Oscar month. Sorry, I'm getting a shared here. Distracted.
What year is it?
Yeah, no, I saw that. And I was like, what year is it? Throwing me off there. Hello, guys. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Book Club for Movies. Amy and Samir here. We will be talking about Oscar winner Halle Berry today. Still the only Black woman to have won Best Actress at the Oscars. Hopefully that will be changed this year. We'll see.
Fairly confident it will change. There will now be 2 after this next Oscars. I'm pretty positive that Viola Davis is going to win Best Actress at this point. It seems like it's kind of sewn up. Only a surprise could, I think, take this away from her at the last minute. But that's my prediction.
It's happened before, but yeah, we will be talking about Halle Berry. But before that, yesterday we talked about director Bong Joon-ho, who won Best Director last year for Parasite. Parasite was one of our Patreon picks by the lovely Crystal Mayer. So let's talk about Parasite. Oh boy.
Oh, so depressing.
Yeah. My sister watched this with me, and she hadn't seen this movie yet. And normally this is not the type of movie that she watches, but she gets really wrapped up in watching the Oscars every year, but she never watches the movies that are nominated, which annoys me because she'll get all excited about something. I'm like, you haven't even seen this movie. This doesn't make any sense. And, but she did want to watch the movie because it had won. So I said, okay, don't know if she's going to really go for this, but here we go. And during the scene that's the bloodbath, the birthday party, I just looked over her and she was sitting there like just wide-eyed, mouth covered, and then as soon as the credits rolled, I said, so what did you think? And she said, that was dark. That was very dark.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Accurate description there. Oh God, I love all of the actors in this movie so much. I still laugh at some of the little things of like the mother, they're gifted this art piece rock. I forget what they were called, but
the scholar rock.
Yeah, and like, oh, this rock's gonna bring great fortune to your family and everything. And next time you see her with it, she's using it as like a scrub board during the laundry.
At the end, she's using it, but also like her commentary, she's like, why didn't you bring us some food?
Yeah,
you want to bring us a symbol that's gonna bring us wealth in the future, we're hungry now.
Yeah.
So we could use that kind of help right now instead of this entree into high society that doesn't end well for anybody. But it's funny, I noticed sort of the full circle of the child's traumatic birthdays comes to pass. They're this is his birthday trauma cake. I'm you have no idea how true that statement is going to be in about 2 minutes. So there's this macabre black humor, but it's increased tension when you know what's coming. The moment that the old housekeeper comes up to the door, I remember when I first saw the movie, I was like, is this going to go into some weird supernatural territory? Is she what is going on with her? I had no idea that what was going to happen was that, oh my God, this is a story about the despair of the economically depressed in South Korea. You thought it was going to be something totally different than that, but you also know now, having seen the movie, even though you know that's what's the story of that is, you also know everything else that's coming after, and it's just like there are no more there's no heroes in this movie. There's like the only really good person I really feel like is the old housekeeper and the daughter who falls in love with her tutor. Like in that moment of the party, like everyone else is running away from these people. So you have these shots of like, this is the person who's been stabbed and someone's trying to save her life. This other woman is almost being stabbed to death by the crazy guy. And like, they're like, oh, my son, he's passed out. We need to get him to the hospital now. Like, you know, they're like, okay, well, you're ignoring all these other people that are like in similar distress right now. I understand that you're trying to protect your family and everything, but you know, and the camera whips around and all the other people from the party are just running away. Like nobody's coming to help any of the people who are hurt. No one's trying to defend them because they're all the help. It's just the help who's been attacked, basically. And the only person who's helping someone is the daughter. She's carrying the son on her back. Like she sees that he's been hurt. Like, that's weird because I don't know how she found him. Oh, that's right, because she went down to look for him. Because he said he was going down there. But she's the only person of everyone who helps someone, you know? And when he asked her, do you think I fit in with these people? And she's like, yeah. Like, yeah, like she doesn't see why he shouldn't be there. It's like she's the only person who's sort of free of all this drama that comes with the class struggle and these divisions. Like the number of times the super hot rich dad like he's such a dick though. It's just like, oh, you know, I really want to like you, but you're an awful person. I mean, you don't deserve to die, but you're an awful person.
Yeah, he's talking about crossing the line all the time, just
all the way to crossing the line. Like you stay where you are, and I don't want to have to deal with the complexities of your life. Is basically what that is. I don't want you to think that you're equal to me. You're not equal to me. You're beneath me.
I mean, even like at the birthday party, you know, they're both dressed up like these Native American chiefs, and he like reminds him then, just kind of like, you know, like, oh, you're trying to have a personal conversation with me. Like, remember, you're getting paid to be here. You're still an employee just because you're here at my child's birthday party. Like,
like you're at work. Remember, you know, it's just like that kind of like I said, nobody's like, you know, deserves what happens to them in this movie. But you don't really have to like any of these people to think that either. It's just such a perfect screenplay. There's so many things thrown in there all over the place. I think I was talking with Crystal earlier, and she was talking about how she always makes the ramdon, and I was like, oh, it's like this mixture of ingredients with like really expensive steak and these cheap noodles, and I'm like, that's pretty much what this house is at this point. You know, and like the idea of like who's feeding off of whom, like, you know, obviously there's the idea that like, you know, the parasite is the family coming into this rich house, like starts with one and then they find a way to bring all the others in. So it's like it's spreading and infiltrating. But then you realize how much the wealthy are feeding off of the poor, basically to sustain themselves. So it's like, well, who's feeding off who? And who's the more dangerous parasitic element in this economic system? You're probably going to fall more towards these people that are high above, as opposed to the people who are getting all of the rain from the storm. That shot, there's so many illusions in that shot. Like I love that shot of them going down, 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 down. You know, all the way down to where they live. You know. It's just a perfect visual representation of like what this movie is about. And of course, anyone who's, you know, I grew up in poor neighborhoods. I, you know, don't live in exactly the Ritz-Carlton now, but, you know, the sight of power lines hanging over your neighborhood is, I think anybody who grew up without a lot of money knows that image very well. Like it's a familiar image because that's what your neighborhood looks like. They don't even care to like put this underground to make it safer for everyone. This is just how we're going to do it to get power to you because we have to. It's like how it feels every time you look at it and you see like those lines running across everywhere. But there's a moment in this movie that reminded me of this moment in Imitation of Life. I don't remember if you've seen that, the one with Lana Turner and Juanita Moore. There's this one moment of the movie where you see the daughter character who's basically light skinned enough to pass, who gets discovered as being black, and she's actually beaten like pretty severely in this moment. It's like this really intense moment, and it cuts from that scene to the shot of Lana Turner with her, that girl's mother, who is like her servant. And it cuts from this horrific moment for the servant's daughter to a shot of the servant massaging Lana Turner's feet. And it's like, it makes me burn every time I see it, because I'm just like, that cut from that to that, and that specific image, like it really brings up everything that the movie is about. And so you have this rainstorm that's rained everybody out, and these people have all been like, oh, come be a part of our child's party, it's important. And they're all like, they're in a humanitarian crisis. They're all crammed into like a school gym or something because there's no other shelter for all these people. So it's like these rich people are throwing this big lavish party, and she's taking this person who's just, his home's been destroyed and they had to pick clothes out of a pile of donations. And she's throwing all this expensive food and wine into the cart, and they're going to buy all these expensive things. And you think, if these people even watch the news, the money that they just spent on this party could have probably fed everybody in that shelter for the day. It's so you get that moment of like all the rain and, this happening, and them going to do this. And then you cut to them doing the shopping, and she's talking about, oh, thank God the rain washed all that dirt away. It's such a nice day today. Thank goodness for the rain. Like at the same time that she's like not helping all these people who need it, when her and her family are like, all the people at their party are the kind of people who have the money to make that situation better. And they brought presents, and they're doing all the, all the lines about, we bought this from the United States. It's like they think they're better than people because they can afford to be like they're from America.
Yeah.
I mean, even the portraits on the wall.
Because it's from the US. Like,
Right. I'm like, oh, honey. honey. But like, even that magazine article is blown up and framed as art, along with family portraits and their son's weird art therapy pictures. Like, it's like, this is how vain this person is. Like, you get this sense of them, they think only of themselves. And so you have that moment where like she's in the back of the car talking about thank God for the rain, and her bare feet are up on the seat. Like, and then she starts, oh, I have to, she rolls down the window because she suddenly recognizes the smell. And it's like she's talking about all this, and you get this shot of her feet behind and his face in the foreground on the other side of the frame, like listening to her like say thank goodness for the rain, and it's so great, isn't it? And they've just spent all this like fortune that could like change all these people's lives just for this, impromptu birthday party.
Yeah.
It just, oh my God, like it leads all of that. It's such a devastating movie to me, but there's so many moments of humor still in it, even though I watched it now knowing what the story was. There's a lot of, I think Crystal mentioned a few favorite parts in it.
I really think that this is, there's a reason why this did win Best Original Screenplay, right?
Pretty sure. Yeah, I think so. He won.
Yeah. I think, there have been many movies about class relations, but never like this.
Never. I think, Crystal mentioned the thing with the Ramadan and the expensive beef. I was remembering also, it didn't occur to me before, I remember being confused why when the couple is having sex on the couch, they're weird over the clothing sex, but sex nonetheless. And he's like, oh, I hope you're wearing those cheap panties. And she's like, buy me drugs. Yeah. And I'm like, why is this what they're saying? And I'm like, oh, it's like they're trying on poorness or poverty. It's like a sexual, it's like a like a role playing, or like when you go to a theme hotel and it's like, oh, I want the cowboy scene. I want the Grecian goddess room or whatever, it's like, this is, and for them it's like somehow being down and dirty with the poor people is sexy to them. And it's like, that's the only so it's another way in which they're using poor people. They're even using them to get off in a way, so it makes the scene even more disturbing. Like, it's just like she mentions the Ramadan and the beef. It's another weird place in which lines are crossed, and it's okay for them to cross them when
Yeah,
they
and
want.
I definitely related a lot to um, the poor family as far as you know, like there's something. I mean, like I also, you know, middle class family, but having relatives and friends of relatives out. I've been to a lot of very nice houses in my life, like, you know, multi-million dollar homes. And there's something about like getting to visit these homes and just think like, oh, like even like, you know, I'll get to house sit sometimes and like for like a week. It's like this is my house and this is great. And you actually feel like you like I could live here. This is wonderful. And then you go back to your house, which this I live in a great house.
Yeah.
I've always lived in a nice house, unfortunately. Um, but there's I don't know everything where they were just like appreciating all of these things. Like I really relate to that of just like oh here we are having this expensive alcohol and even just like getting to be in this bathtub and I don't know. There was something I really related to with that
I
of
think I do too. I do
appreciating the
too.
luxury.
That feeling of not like you are enjoying the luxury of it, but you almost feel like you don't belong. But
Mhm.
also that view of money from when you're poor, you do think like, the way the wife says, she's like, oh, she's nice because she's rich. Money irons out everything. And it's like,
Mhm.
that is what you believe when you don't have it, because you have so many other problems that are related to not having money that, those are usually the most prescient because, you need a roof over your head, you need to eat, you need water, those needs, if it's hard to meet them, all the other needs that you have as a human being, like your sexual needs, the needs of your heart, all these other emotional things you need, they get kind of pushed down. And so you never have time to acknowledge them. And until you remove the problems with money, basically once you do that, then all the other problems that you didn't have time for, suddenly there's time for, and you have to deal with them then. But before that, you like, I remember being as a kid thinking like, all of anything, any problem that's making my life difficult, you think that it's just money and money can fix everything.
Mhm.
And you obviously, maybe it can turn you into this family, but this family is, they're pretty weird on their own. The child that the little boy always pisses me off in this movie, but no, I think a lot of people identify with that. When you go to see like to go to a really nice house, you see somebody who does live like that, and then you start to question like, well, is if my stuff doesn't look that good now, like
Yeah, there's something too about I don't know, when you hang out with people that have more money with you, you kind of notice the things that they take for granted, or things
yes,
or they think like, "Oh, this is just like, you know, not a big deal expense." And it's like, that's a lot of money for a lot of people. And they lose that sense of reality with that and that value of a dollar. You know, which I'm not trying to bash rich people. There are many, many people that started with nothing and they worked for everything that they have. But even
yeah,
doing that, sometimes like I know some people that have kind of lost touch a little bit of like what the little people are like. But we can talk about this movie all day. It's
we
just so
could.
good. If you didn't see Parasite,
Masterpiece.
yeah, available on Hulu. And actually, I think three of his other films are on Hulu right now.
Yes, his film Mother, which is another highly recommended film.
The host, and I think his first, whichever I forget the name of it now, has something to do with a dog in the title. I think that
Barking dogs don't bite.
there we go. I think that one's on Hulu too. Yeah, but please check it out if you still haven't seen this movie,
Please,
especially watch it
please.
before the Oscars. All right, it's time for name that movie. So you know what to do. You know what the movie is. Type it in the comments. Do not be shy. Here we go. Now, I didn't know this one. I have not seen this movie, but here we go. Yes, two very different mothers, Andres.
Hmm.
This looks like a World War II era film. Again, if you know what this is, go ahead and type it in the comments. Do you think you know it, Samir?
I don't know. Hmm.
Does anyone know it? Anyone know it?
I
No
thought I
guesses.
knew it, but now I don't know.
All right, no guesses. This is the Tin Drum.
Oh, I was right. Well, that's what I thought it was, but I'm like, it seems odd that it would be in this book. I honestly didn't think that title was going to be in here.
This has.
I mean, the tin drums give it away, but
Yeah, the tin.
I was like,
drum.
oh, it can't be that obvious. Like, why would the clue to the tin drum be a stack of tin drums?
Nope. Yeah. Didn't know it, but maybe you guys will know this one. Samir, I feel like is going to get this one. This is another one. I still don't think I've seen this either, but this is another famous film here. Look, a gun.
Another gun. So I feel like how could you not know what this one is?
Well, if you haven't
Some of
seen
these
it,
clues are just a little too on the nose.
if you haven't seen it, could be hard.
Well, not that hard when you hear the answer.
Well, yeah. All right. Any guesses on what this is?
I feel like the pictures say it all. Shall I just tell everyone?
I'll give you a big hint. Part of the name is in the pictures.
There we go. I knew Walter would get it.
Mildred Pierce. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I haven't seen this, but yeah, here's Mildred's.
I was just like, that's if you were wondering, by the time you get to that one, I think it's pretty obvious. And Amy, how have you not seen the only role that Joan Crawford won an Oscar for?
I don't know.
That is an epic performance.
Joan Crawford films like you are.
But that is her most famous one. That is like the one.
Didn't know them either.
That's the one you should have seen. Of all the movies, that's the one everybody has seen. Watched it.
Well, we are definitely going to be going well past 4 since we talked about Parasite so much. We're just now talking about Halle Berry, but oh well. Halle Berry. The former beauty queen, the Oscar-winning actress, Primetime Emmy-winning actress, Golden Globe-winning actress, Halle Berry. She's been around for quite a while now. Really started getting popular in the 90s. Had some rough beginnings. She was born August 14th, 1966 in Cleveland, Ohio. She was actually born Maria Halle Berry, and then her name was legally changed to Halle Maria Berry when she was 5. So don't know what the deal was with that. The name Halle was, they picked that because there was a Halle's department store in Cleveland that I guess was like a really popular department store. Her mother is white, her father is black. Mother was a psychiatric nurse. Father was a hospital attendant at the same psychiatric ward. They divorced when she was just 4. She was estranged from her father for a really long time. I guess he was just like incredibly abusive. I don't even know if she's ever seen him again. Yeah, but raised by her mother. became a beauty queen, was in some beauty pageants in the 80s. She, in 1986, she was the first runner up in Miss USA. She was also in the Miss World contest. In 1989, she moved to New York and didn't start out great in New York. She was homeless for a little bit, living in the YMCA. She just, yeah, was just like the struggling model in New York City. That didn't last too long, though. Fortunately, she eventually was part of a TV show called Who's the Boss?
Oh
Also
yeah.
at this time, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is something I think that she's been an advocate for throughout her life. Her big film debut was in a little role in Spike Lee's Jungle Fever in 1991. She also was in Strictly Business. She was in Eddie Murphy's Boomerang. The thing I remember her from was the Flintstones movie. That's, I
The
think, the
Flintstones movie
earliest.
of all things.
I know
I
that's
used
the
to think
earliest
of
thing I
her.
was in.
I used to remember. I don't know if anybody else even remember. Anybody, well, I know a lot of people do, but I don't know if anybody here today remembers it. But the movie Baps is the movie that I remember loving as a kid because it was just so over the top. The amazing hair and costumes, and the like. I just loved her in that movie. It's such a crazy movie. But really, I don't know. That I just remember that movie vividly, and it's funny that to see like because it's sort of like a a campy comedy film, and to see her go from that to Oscar winner is incredible.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that was in 1997. Continued to be in some bigger things in the 90s. In 1999, she was in an HBO biopic called Introducing Dorothy Dandridge. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, she did win an Emmy and a Golden Globe for that. Dorothy Dandridge, of course, being the first Black woman to have been nominated for Best Actress, did not win. And then, of course, the irony of Halle Berry then a few years later being the first Black woman to actually win.
It
Yeah,
goes to
2000s.
show the power of a role because
Mhm.
that her winning an award for playing that person in even in a TV movie automatically puts Halle Berry Oscar winner history. Like all of those things go into an Academy voter's mind from that movie, and people saw her newly from that. They were like, "Oh, like here's a serious. She's not just like a good actress who's making good in Hollywood. She's a serious actress who has major talent." That movie, sort of that TV movie, ironically reintroduced her as a serious film actress.
Mhm.
That was a big deal. That movie, I remember it got a lot of press. It was shown a lot. It was like there was nobody else who was going to win that award except her that year. It was like it felt like a mini Oscars with her in that movie. It was almost like a test run. So it's just funny how it worked out that way. It's very, it. I think that is really crucial to her career going where it went.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, in the early 2000s, she started appearing in the X-Men films as Storm. Those certainly were super popular.
Oh,
And it was in the middle of doing these X-Men movies that she was in Monsters Ball, which of course she ended up winning Best Actress for. There was this little quote from her. I found this today. This is just on E! News. It says, "Why Halle Berry calls her historic Oscar win one of her biggest heartbreaks." And this is what she's basically, she was saying, like, it's been 20 years now. And I'm still the only Black woman to have won Best Actress. And she says, "I thought Cynthia from Harriet was going to do it last year. I thought Ruth Nega was had a really good shot at it too. I thought there were women that rightfully, arguably could have, should have. I hoped they would have, But why it hasn't gone that way, I don't have the answer. It's one of my biggest heartbreaks. The morning after, I thought, wow, I was just chosen to open a door. And then to have no one, I questioned, was that an important moment or was it just an important moment for me? I wanted to believe it was so much bigger than me. It felt so much bigger than me, mainly because I knew others should have been there before me and they weren't. Just because I won an award doesn't mean that magically the next day there was a place for me. I was just continuing to forge a way out of no way. And certainly her winning an Oscar catapulted her to superstardom. I mean, that was just such an iconic, from from her hair to her gown, that's become one of the most talked about Oscar moments ever. After winning her Oscar, she went on continuing to be in these X-Men movies. She was appearing in the James Bond movies at the time. She became like this blockbuster bombshell. Yes, she was in Catwoman, Luke.
She did have some other struggles with, I think, erratic driving that made, like, even Chris Rock made a sketch about her on his show when he had an HBO show back in the day. With her, I think it was when I forgot what had happened. I don't think it was anything like terrible, but it was just like she got this rap for the accident that she got in. And like that became a thing. It was weird, but she seems like, I don't know, to me, she just seems like now she feels like a household name. Because definitely. Of all of these films. But this was like, I think that this movie that we're going to talk that you've selected for today is really like the crowning achievement in her career as an actor. I think like the role that she was asked the most of her, it seems, compared to everything else. I love her in a lot of these movies, but it feels like this is the one like that obviously wanted more of her. And from all accounts, because I just heard it was really depressing. And also had a ferocious sex scene that I didn't want to watch. So for a while, I just got used to not watching it, but now we're going
to. Before we get into Monsters Ball, a little bit more about her. She has also become a producer. She has one directing credit, actually. She directed a film called Bruised, which looks like that came out this last year.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, follows a former MMA
fighter
struggling to regain custody of her son and restart her athletic career. Oh, I guess she's in it too. Yeah, so I think she's branching out into other projects. She also has two films that should be coming out soon. One in post-production called Moonfall, one in pre-production called The Mothership. As far as her personal life goes, she's been married a few times. She was with a really hot model for several years. She has a few kids with a few of her husbands, and then this ex-boyfriend. She's also become a huge advocate. There was this law that was passed in California that was mostly backed by her and I think a couple other celebrities that basically protected children from paparazzi. Which I remember watching that. I want to say it was her and maybe even like Jennifer Garner. I remember this happening. This was in like in the last 10 years or something. They were like in court and they were really like advocating for this being passed here in California. Just like, okay, it's one thing to harass us, but like, can you leave our kids out of it? Like they're children, they're minors. You shouldn't do this. And that did get passed, which is really good. And she's also a big environmental advocate. Yeah, but now let's talk about Monsters Ball. Yeah, so this movie is definitely, this is a downer for so many reasons. It's also a downer because Heath Ledger's in it, and his birthday was actually the other day. I think he would have been 42. So anything that has Heath Ledger in it, I'm always like, but this movie, oh my God, this came out in 2001. After a family tragedy, a racist prison guard re-examines his attitudes while falling in love with the African-American wife of the last prisoner he executed. Starring Billy Bob Thornton, Halle Berry, Heath Ledger, Peter Boyle, Sean Combs. The acting in this movie is just fantastic. Um, this movie was very controversial when it came out, mostly because of quite the lengthy sex scene, which is something that I was just reading about. Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton both really stood behind it. And apparently, in the original script, it wasn't as long as it is in the film, but they decided to kind of improvise. Um, Halle Berry is completely naked in it, which is something else that people were like, "Oh, yeah, she's naked," and she has been very public about that, saying that like given a certain role, she will be nude, and if the role calls for it again, and if it makes sense to her, like she would do it again. She didn't do it just to have there be gratuitous nudity. A lot of actors had turned down this role just given the subject matter, and I mean, it's a tough role. It's yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. She, of course, won Best Actress, and it was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay. Did not win. I saw on its IMDb trivia. I think it was, I forget what magazine, but someone put this on a list of the 20 most overrated films of the Oscars. But yeah, this movie, I mean, lots of trigger warnings in this of this is not the feel good movie of the year.
Yeah.
But it's good. It really is good. I'm really looking forward to watching this again. It's been several years since I've seen it. I think anything alone with Heath Ledger needs to be celebrated. And oh,
But this day is about Halle Berry.
it is about Halle Berry, yeah, and she certainly. I think this was a very well deserved Oscar. Let's see who she was up against that year. That year, oh yeah, so this was also the year that Denzel Washington won for Training Day, so that was a really big year for the Oscars. So she was, oh yeah, no contest. She was also up against Nicole Kidman, Moulin Rouge, Sissy Spacek in The Bedroom, Judi Dench for Iris, and Renee Zellweger for Bridget Jones's Diary. Like, no contest.
Well, I guess there were two real contenders in Judi Dench and basically the two British actresses. The two old people were the ones that she really had a competition. Nicole Kidman, like, no. Just no.
I mean, I love.
But Sissy Spacek in The Bedroom, that's she's a previous Oscar winner. She doesn't get nominated that often or make movies that frequently. So that was kind of a big deal. That movie was also a big deal. I remember that film getting multiple nominations. So there were contenders. So it wasn't just an easy choice for them because they would have, ruling over what Judi Dench and Sissy Spacek are, for those movies particularly, that was a big victory, I think. Because it's not that must have been a hard choice for a lot of voters in terms of just like who gave the best performance. These are three amazing performances. So the fact that she won, I think, shows that there were enough people who really thought that she deserved the award for that performance. And it wasn't just nobody else was good. This is the easiest choice ever. I think it makes her accomplishments stand out even more.
Yeah, so get ready for this film. This is also available on Hulu or available to rent if you don't have Hulu. A lot of the movies this month are on Hulu and HBO Max. So if you don't have those are certainly two that you should add to your arsenal, at least for the month. But please check out Monsters Ball, then maybe watch something really happy right afterwards.
Yeah, plan something a little more cheerful.
Yeah, but I really admire all of these actors. Billy Bob is one of my favorites as well, and I could talk all day about Billy Bob as well. But everyone's good in this. Please check this out and try to not be depressed afterwards.
Try.
Yeah. Yeah, so you guys are talking about Denzel for Training Day. I think there were a lot of people, we've talked about this before, who would have rather have seen him win for The Hurricane. Um, yeah.
But a win is a win, you know,
It
like,
is.
because Oscars are frequently like that. It's almost like, you know, it feels like the last, for a lot of times, it doesn't seem so much like you're giving the award to the best. You're giving it to who you really just want to have an Oscar this year.
Mhm.
You know, there's other reasons beyond the actual performance or the actual film, I think, that determine who wins these. Because there's a lot of winners that you're like, really? Why? But then there's other people who are like, well, Denzel should probably have a few Oscars by this point. So
Yeah.
does it matter at this point if he's been denied for other movies he probably deserved them for? Does it matter now that he gets it for this movie or that movie, as long as they make sure he gets one? It feels like that's kind of how it is. So it's like, until they really fix any of these things to run just on like who someone really thinks is the best here or there, which it never really has, it's always been kind of a popularity contest, then, you know, I think we're okay with, yeah, maybe he should have gotten it for this, but at least they gave him one for Training Day, you know,
Yeah.
and instead of leaving him without an Oscar for his whole career when we know he should have more than one. And now he does. Hopefully Halle Berry will have another role that doesn't require depressing the audiences so drastically to win an Oscar. Like, maybe they'll let her have an Oscar for doing something fun, like they sometimes do with people. Sometimes comedy hardly ever wins, though. You really have to make somebody cry if you want that award. And well, I guess I just stock up on tissues for tonight.
Yeah. I wouldn't even call this a tearjerker. It's just depressing. Like, you're just not gonna feel good watching this. But that's me
Well,
being
for
I'm the type of
me,
person
probably
who
it
doesn't
will.
cry when things are sad. I just get depressed, and this is definitely one I'm just gonna be depressed about. But hope you enjoy it. That being said, tomorrow is another Genre Thursday. We're going to be doing part 2 of 5 of our movies about movies. Tomorrow is Federico Fellini's 8.5, which I'm really excited to revisit it. It's been a good decade since I've seen it.
Wow.
And super excited to watch it. Thank you guys for watching today. I hope you enjoy watching Monsters Ball. Again, available on Hulu. Please check out our Patreon. Putting the link over here in the comments. Wait, I cannot type. Here we go. Yeah, Chris is saying Parasite depressed her, but I loved it. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with loving depressing movies, but it's just, yeah, if you haven't seen this, it's a downer, but a fantastic downer at that.